Good day. My name is John Puglisi. I'm the president of NISOA, and I'm going to call the 2018 annual general meeting to order. We are physically located in Indianapolis, Indiana today, and through the great folks at Never Ends Productions, we'll be streaming this live as well as recording this event on both YouTube and NISOA.com. With that, I'd like to open the meeting with some brief remarks. And starting with actually being here and being broadcast, this is the first time that we have broadcast a NISOA general meeting to the population. They've generally been locally attended events with various stages of folks actually being there, but this is an opportunity for us to get our message out to everybody and all of our membership. So it's an extremely exciting time, and it's a very personal representation of the change that's occurring within our organization, which is reflecting the change in college soccer as well. The last several years, there's been quite a bit of change, and as our organization has seen this change, we need to be able to adapt and move with it. We're at a stage now where we are no longer the only game in town. There are competing referee groups. The college environment is changing. There are spring games now that are being played under the laws of the game. It's truly a revolutionary time in college soccer, and we need to make sure that our organization adapts and responds to all of these changes. And I'm very excited to say, and very pleased to say, that we've been taking steps as an organization to address these changes. Part of the primary responsibility for us within the executive board is to become a much more responsive organization to our membership. Again, we are a member-centric organization. Without our members, there's no reason for us to exist. So we are going forward keeping a razor focus on making sure that all of our activities deliver maximum value to our membership. Through the last several months, we've been polling key members and key stakeholders within our organization, and the feedback that we've received has been extremely important as we chart our path forward. You'll be getting information this afternoon about some of the strategic planning efforts and how we are reimagining and revisiting our organization. So I'm very excited that we'll have this opportunity to present that and to roll it out to the entire membership. My personal interest in this wonderful organization is moving it forward, yet maintaining and cherishing the legacy of an over 50-year-old organization. We are certainly standing on the shoulders of giants that have gone before us. So as we move the organization forward, it's extremely important that we recognize our past, we embrace our past, we cherish the folks that have gone before this, and have set our path to go forward. So change is inevitable, change is important, change is progress, but we need to make sure that we do maintain a sense of legacy and the founding principles of our organization, which of course are family first, job second, and NISOA third. So that will be a continuing thread through all of the initiatives and all of the things that you're going to hear today. We, as NISOA, remain, and we are the only national member-centric organization that provides NCAA soccer rules-focused instruction and interpretation. We are unique in that category, and we continue to focus most of our activities to leverage this position within the United States soccer community. In order to do that, we are revisiting all of our activities as well as developing goals and objectives to move forward with new activities that will keep us first and foremost within the United States soccer community as the leader in college soccer officiating. We intend to maintain and to enhance our position with that. One of the things that you'll be hearing through the course of the annual general meeting, particularly when it comes to the general elections that we'll discuss, we have added and we continue to add credibility energy and new perspectives to our senior leadership team so that we are best reflecting what is going on in the current college soccer game. So it's a very exciting time, and I would like to thank not only the executive board for their staunch support through this time of change, and rather drastic change in certain aspects of it, but I want to thank each and every member that's out there for being a NISOA member. I think there's a certain pride that I take in being a NISOA member. I take a tremendous amount of pride in leading this organization. I think we are here for the right reasons. We are serving the college soccer game like no other organization that's out there, because we're serving both the game and our membership. So for the members that are out there, thank you very much for your continued support. Thank you for your feedback, constructive criticism, and all that you do for college soccer. So with that, we'll go through and start the more procedural part of the day with roll call.
Okay, in roll call, is Berkshire County, Massachusetts, Glenn Brookman available? Is he there? No. Central Connecticut, William Fortin. Are you here, William? No. Central Maine, Richard McGovern. Are you Central Maine here? No. Central Massachusetts, Michael Kaczynski. No. Eastern Connecticut, Joe Filippetti. Not on the line. Eastern Massachusetts, William Carey. No. Greater New Haven, Connecticut, Joseph Miller. No. Mid-Coast, Maine, Larry LaRochelle. No. New England Board, Bill Carey. No. New Hampshire, David Bruno. No. Ocean State, Rhode Island, Rex Morris. Rex, are you there? No. Pioneer Valley, Massachusetts, David Del Buono. Del Buono. No. Rhode Island, Lou DeNobile. Is Lou here? No. Southern Connecticut, Stan Kupinski. Not present. Vermont, Mark Paquette. No. Western Connecticut, Arthur Ham. No. Central New York, Clyde Best. No. Eastern New York, Kevin Schutels. No. Mid-Hudson, New York, Mark Sutherland. No. Mohawk Valley, New York, Kevin Waters. No. New York Board, Bill Bianchi. No answer. New York Metro, Stephen Woke.
I'm here in his stead.
Present with John Puglisi. Northern New York, Randy Lozier. No. Richard, New York, Bill Bianchi. No. Rockland, Westchester, New York, Jack Schivoni. No. Southern Tier, New York, Thomas Barker. No. Triple Cities, New York, Kevin McGough.
Jim Miller here.
Jim Miller present in the organizational room representing Triple Cities. Western New York, Mark Butler. No. Okay. Capital Area, Pennsylvania, Arnie Fritzis. Eric Samples representing Capital Area, Pennsylvania. EBDPA, Dan Rudloff. Dan Richmond representing EBDPA. Lehigh Valley, Terry Golden. No. Paul is here representing Lehigh Valley. Luzerne, Lackawanna, Pennsylvania, Dennis Michuko. No. Metro, New Jersey, David Simmerman. Eric Bellis representing Metro, New Jersey. Mid-Atlantic, Delaware, Nick Cortus. No. New Jersey, George Westcott. Yes, George Westcott is on the line. Suburban Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Daniel Wilson. No. Baltimore, Maryland, Jason Cullum. Matthew Richardson for Jason Cullum. Central Maryland, Maria Cribbs. No. Lake Erie, Pennsylvania, Richard Smirkovich. Excuse me. No. Metro Washington, D.C., Dan Lukash is to my right here. Tri-State, Pennsylvania, Patrick Doring. Not here. Western Maryland, Elvis Butler. Elvis, are you there? No. Alabama, Pete Dacus. No. Central Kentucky, Chad Collins. No. Central Mississippi, Hossein Mofidi.
Cecil Wright, how you doing?
Cecil Wright for Central Mississippi.
Yeah.
Kentuckiana, Kentucky, Brian Darling. No. Mid-South, present? Okay, Brian Darling is here. Mid-South Tennessee, Mark Harrington. No. Middle Tennessee, Claude Ariel. No. Mississippi, Jesse McBride. No. Southeastern Tennessee, Gary Welch. No. Southern Kentucky, Ronnie Cowan.
Doubt
Tennessee Valley, Chip Fuller.
it. Doubt it.
No. Virginia, David Dunlap. No. Western Virginia, Dennis Brumfield.
West Virginia.
No. Central Florida, Kevin Flynn. No. Coastal Southern, Michael Bice. No. Florida Sun, Thomas Smith. No. Scott.
Here, I'm in his place.
Okay, Lance will represent Florida Sun. Florida West Coast, Scott Hopkins. Scott Hopkins is here. George Stewart Dunn. Georges for Stewart Dunn. No. Southern Carolina, Jason Kent.
South Carolina.
No. South Florida, John McGee. No. Southwest Florida, Frank Amonte. Present. Frank Amonte is here. Triangle, North Carolina, Roger Morton.
Carmen Serbia on behalf of.
Carmen Serbio is going to represent Triangle, North Carolina. Western North Carolina, Ed Kozowski. Not here. Central Indiana, Brian DePiro.
Present.
Present in the audience here. Indiana, Terry Shipley. Not present. Michigan, Mark Lawrence. North Ohio, Austin Saini. No and no. Ohio, Doug Palomaki. Not here. Southern Indiana, Matt Hirsch. No. Tri-State United IND, John Metz. Not here. Western Michigan, Greg Pilbeam. No. Central Illinois, Bob Brous. No. Eastern South Dakota, Tom Heltziger. I probably said that bad. Great Plains, Wayne Wilson. No. Greater Chicago, Robert Canavan.
Todd.
Representing Greater Chicago.
Keith Angel is representing Greater Chicago.
Okay.
Keith's no longer. Okay, good.
Greater Iowa, Phil Watson. No. Mid-Iowa, James Elmer. No. Minnesota, Troy Coors. No. North Dakota, Matthew Von Pinnen. No. Southern Wisconsin, Kurt Steffen. No. Western Illinois, Greg Shearling. No. Arkansas, David Henderson.
Mr. Swanson.
No. Capital Referees, Texas, Kurt Berry. No. Central Missouri, Michael McCrary. No. Eastern Oklahoma, Larry Morgan. No. El Paso, Texas, Gibby Widner. No. Greater Kansas, Brandon Beck. No. Kansas, Brian Otten. No. Kansas City, Missouri, Ben Guschnauer. No. Midwestern Missouri, Gary Huber. No. North Louisiana, Charles Neninger. No. North Texas, Tim Debising. No. Oklahoma City, William Prevarnick. No. Ozark, Missouri, Shane Kennard. No. South Texas, Benny Del Castillo. No. Southern Louisiana, Darren Browder. No. Texas Gulf Coast, Carlos Valdez Jr. No. West Texas, Sam Guevara. No. Arizona, Richard Gramolini. No. Nevada, Bob Singer.
Bother's folder.
No. Northern New Mexico, James Cohane. No. San Diego, California, Omar Muro. No. San Gabriel, California, Joe Rivetti. Southern California Board, Joe Rivetti. No and no. Suburban California, Fred Margie. No. Tri-County, California, Mac Brazelton. No. Central California, Levin Baladagiani. No. Colorado, Melissa Absher. No. Front Range, Wyoming, Charles Mason. No. Hawaii, Dennis Delgado. No. Idaho, Matt Houston. No. Montana, Mike Walsh. No. Oregon, Steve Brooks. Steve Brooks is here. South Utah, Scott Connor. Charles for Scott Connor. Present. Utah, Philip Parrish. Washington, Philippe Dorr. West Coast, California, James Mays. That concludes the roll call.
You missed Wisconsin. Missed Wisconsin.
Well, in Wisconsin, Barrett Britt. I also called Southern Wisconsin, Kurt Stefani. Both did not answer.
Okay.
Mr. President, if I might, I'd like to express the representation for New England in this, since we had no.
Noted.
I'd like to express representation for New England in our roll call.
Okay, with that, we'll go into the various reports from the officers and directors. I'll lead off with several initiatives, actually. One of our longstanding activities, which has come under review for in terms of our overall strategic planning process that you'll hear more about in a few moments, is our annual convention. The convention itself has historically been the third week in July. It provided us with essentially three functions. One was to hold an annual general meeting, which we're doing at in this venue, as well as providing a social gathering and recognition for the NISOA awards. With the increasing costs and burden on some of the chapters, some of the feedback that we've gotten over the years, and the dwindling attendance, we've decided to revisit the concept of having a convention. That will not be a convention in its historic presence in 2018. We are doing some planning in order to fill in the gap when it comes to awards recognition and the social gathering piece that used to be part of the convention as part of a reunion weekend, which again we are still targeting for the third week in July, but we're in the process of hammering out some details with that. So for those of you that are making arrangements or had made plans to attend a convention somewhere, I apologize, but it's just not going to happen. It's just not in line with what our organization is, what our membership is asking for, what they're asking for of us, and in order to maintain fiscal responsibility and make sure that our fiscal resources are going towards member purposes, the convention has been dropped out in its present form. So at least for 2018, there will be no convention. I will introduce our Director of Financial Management, Carmen Serbio, for the financial reports.
Thank you, John. The following financial information has been compiled from our latest accountant-prepared financial statement as of March 31st, 2018. Throughout the beginning of the year, starting in 2018, we started employing the services of George Johnson and Company. David Asaki is a NISOA member, and he's employed by the firm. The firm is out of Detroit. Overall, the status of our financial position is fiscally sound. Under assets and our liquidity, we currently have cash on hand of over $462,000. We also have a brokerage account, which is valued as of March 31st at just under $300,000. So our current assets are $760,000. Pretty much our liabilities are nil. We do have a small liability that we owe to the foundation fund in the amount of $530. As of March 31st for the fiscal year of 2018, we've taken in a total revenue of $328,000, comprised mostly of membership dues. Our total expenses were $73,000, and that mostly is attributed to salaries, insurance, and travel. And our net income for the year is $254,000. Looking at a more macro view of 2016 to 2017 of our revenue versus expenditures, our revenue has declined $30,000, and that's mostly attributed to a lack of director of operations salary that we had to pay. We do expect that to increase in 2018 with the hiring of Lance Van Heitzma. And also we've hired a director of video instruction. The expenditures have decreased our revenue has decreased as well with our lowered membership price that we embraced in 2018 from $80 to $75 per person. The only other thing to report in the financial report is that we did hire an external CPA company in the name of Chris Schulte CPA out of Baltimore, and they are almost done with the audit. As soon as they get the audit completed, which should be very shortly, we're going to file our 990 2017 tax return that George Johnson has prepared.
Thank you, Carmen. We will move to probably my favorite part of the agenda today, the initial rollout, if you will, of the strategic planning initiative that was spearheaded by several of the individuals up here, Dan Lukash and Julie Swartz, our executive director, putting together for the first time in our organization's history a strategic plan. As I had mentioned earlier in the meeting, this is a time of unparalleled change in the college soccer community. And in order for us to best address the changes, we really have to have a framework and a structure where we identify what our strengths, what our weaknesses, where are our opportunities, and where are our targets for improving and maintaining viability as an organization. We did not have that until we began the strategic planning initiative in earnest about 6 months ago. Through a lot of hard work by Dan and Julie and several of the individuals on the executive board, and a lot of feedback that we've received from key stakeholders in the chapters and chapter leaders and chapter members, I think I'm extremely excited and very proud that we've established this strategic plan framework to keep our organization vibrant and vital going forward and address the changes and how we can best move forward as an organization. So with that, I'd like to introduce Dan Lukash, our Senior Director of Programs, who'll provide the oversight of the strategic planning initiative.
Thank you, John. Appreciate that. You did a very good job of summarizing the background and purpose of why we do the strategic plan. As we all know, NISOA has changed, and as you said in your introductory remarks, the college game has changed, but there's a period of time where NISOA itself has not changed, and so that was one of the primary reasons that we thought it's time we take a look at ourselves to see how we're functioning as an organization. And one of the key things we need to do is, in order to do that type of assessment, is to look at our membership, get direct feedback and information from those memberships. So we did that. We, as John mentioned, we did a SWOT analysis. Was one of the first steps where you look at strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. We did a significant series of focus groups among key stakeholders. And we also sent out some online electronic surveys to chapter leaders, chapter members. We got a very good, almost 40% response rate to that. And I want to give a lot of credit for those response. We did jump on this very quickly in the fall, as John mentioned. We did move this along. We did on a very industrious timeline to get to this point already. And I think everybody that participated, we want to thank for that. So we took all that information from the SWOT analysis, from the surveys, from the focus groups, and we got together and we reviewed all this input. We took a list of all this input. We analyzed all that input. We looked at the environment and the threats. We used that information to look at the opportunities that we have. We needed a way to prioritize all this information to see where we wanted to go to be as an organization, to be viable to the members, be viable to those chapters, and be an ongoing resource within the college soccer community. So we came up with 4 strategic imperatives. A strategic imperative is sort of the broad goal, the broad activity of where we want to be as an organization. We came up with 4 of those. Imperatives look at the environment, they identify opportunities where we think we can serve our membership, and they help us prioritize where we want to go as an organization. So first I want to go over the first 4 strategic imperatives that we came up with, and then we'll take each imperative individually with the initial goals we have set up. So as we look at these imperatives, I also want to remind you that this strategic planning is not just an annual event, something that will end in a few weeks. It is ongoing activity that as an organization we should be doing, or will be doing, over the course of 3 to 5 years. We're going to have accomplishments, we're going to have setbacks, but we are going to constantly focus all our work, all our budget activities, all the activities we provide for the members should now be based in the future of these imperatives. So the first strategic imperative we determined was NISOA provides members with the best opportunity to get the best games, best game assignments based on their skill set. So imperative number 1 is on you, the members. We want to focus that we're a member-driven organization, and then all that we do should focus on those members. The second imperative, NISOA leadership and the chapter model effectively supports the NISOA mission. We also want to support members are all required to be part of chapters. We strongly support the chapter model at this time. So we want to make sure the activities that we do support that chapter model. Strategic imperative 3, NISOA will have an effective and productive relationship with related organizations. NISOA cannot operate in a vacuum. We work with a lot of groups. We hope there's a lot of groups that want to work with us. We need to plan and have specific objective details of how we're going to work with these organizations, because partnership is always a positive way to go. We need partnerships, and hopefully we can provide valuous partnerships with other organizations, so that's where we're going to continue to look at. Imperative number 4, NISOA will develop a universally recognized merit-based advancement system. We want to be able to provide referees goals of what they can attain, provide our members the opportunity to move forward in a structured, clear way, and we think this imperative will work towards that. So now we're going to just do a brief summary of the individual goals we're at this point within the imperative. So for strategic imperative 1, where we're talking about getting the best game for members, the first bullet talks about educational products, deliver an up-to-date, relevant, and superior learning experience. Later on, Todd Abraham, our Director of Instruction, will talk about some of the ways we're already progressing that area. We understand our education experience is the key role, one of the key roles that NISOA can provide to its members. We know we need to provide, there are a lot of educational opportunities out there, and we as an organization want to strive to provide that best opportunity that is focused on the college game. Also under this strategic imperative 1, we're going to improve, work, and develop mentor and coaches to provide up-to-date, relevant, ongoing programs of credible guidance. Again, working on our education mission for college officials through mentors, coaches, guides. What that really means is we need to improve our assessment program and expand that to keep up with the modern game. And the third goal at this point in time, meaningful visibility for members for on-field performance. So what that means, if you're doing a good job, you need to be recognized for it, you need to be seen, and use that opportunity to advance and move forward. So again, just as a sidelight, these are current goals. Part of the ongoing process is to develop the step-by-step process for these goals, develop specific initiatives and activities, and that is the second step of this strategic planning activity from where we are now. So let's go on to strategic imperative 2, the working with the chapter model. The goals we've set up at this point in time is define chapter maturity model, including but not limited to administrative capabilities and mentoring and coaching. In other words, we want to help the chapters be more relevant, more effective, and meet the needs of their membership. We also want to help the chapters recruit, retain, educate, and evaluate and retire referees, mentor, coaches, and clinicians. That's one of the clear things we heard in much of the feedback is what can we do for our members? How can we make them better? But how can we recruit new members? And a key part of NISOA being relevant and appropriate refereeing is sometimes retirement is an issue too. So we want to make sure we cover all those bases to provide proper guidance to keep chapters with members and doing the best games they can. Another issue that came up in the SWAT was there is at times disconnect between the NISOA board and the local chapters. So clearly that's one of the goals that needs to occur in this area, and improvements need to be made with NISOA connecting with the national leadership effectively at the local level. And the fourth goal at this particular time is establish local instructional capability to communicate consistent rule interpretation with the national standard. Again, that goes back to our educational mission in helping chapters promote the college game in their local area. Strategic imperative 3, effective and productive relationships with related organizations. We'll develop a collaboration, partnership, engagement action plan, the steps that we want to do. Each group we may want a partnership, may have different goals, different objectives, so we need to be sure we approach those groups appropriately with a plan and activities that are consistent with our mission. And we'll be becoming formal affiliations with related organizations as we see appropriate. There are large organizations, both college-related, referee-related, partnership-related. We need to approach those in a consistent format with consistent goals to make sure they meet our mission across all areas. So we need to more effectively develop these partnerships, and at times there may be formal partnerships that we meet, and there may be informal, let's get together and do some small things together. So hopefully we will become more engaged in that area. And then imperative number 4, we'll develop a university-recognized merit-based advancement system. We're going to initiate some dialogue among key constituencies to create an objective approach to advancement. And we're going to research other advancement systems to identify the variety of approaches and understand their value. As you can see from these goals, some of these are narrowly focused on NISOA. Some of these are broadly focused where we think NISOA can provide some value. This is one of our broader goals. There's some big perspectives here that we want to take to, but we think NISOA has the resources and some knowledge, especially with our memberships, to at least start this conversation, see where we can go and how we can help referees develop in a merit-based system that is objective. So those are the 4 strategic goals, strategic imperatives where we stand. We have some next steps we need to do. It's going to drive our budgeting. It's going to drive our priorities. And we hope the intent of this is to direct the benefits to you, the members, so you can advance in the college game, improve your game, be part of the college community. And I'll just close by stating that this is an ongoing process. It's not a completed step. It's ongoing not only annually, but in everything we do. And we hope that these imperatives and goals have piqued your interest. We are always willing to hear feedback and comments, and we encourage you to always communicate with your chapter leaders, to communicate with us, so we can be doing things that meet the needs of you, the member. So that is a quick summary of where we're going with that strategic planning initiative. We're all very excited here on the board, and we hope you find that. We hope you as members, you as chapter leaders, find this a positive step as NISOA goes forward.
Thanks, Dan. I'm going to turn it back over to Dan to talk a little bit about the current referee camp.
Yes, we are going to do just like to announce we are going to do an Elizabethtown camp again this year. We'll do one more camp. It is a multi-day camp bringing in referees together. One requirement we are going to ask is that any person that would like to come must get a approval from their chapter. If they're not a member of a chapter, they must communicate with a chapter and see if a chapter will support their application to the camp. It is on the NISOA website. Just go on the drop tab under training camps, and there's the NISOA Elizabethtown camp. All the registration information is listed on the NISOA website, as well as the requirements to participate in that camp. Thank you, John.
Thanks, Dan. At this time, I'd like to introduce our Senior Director of Instruction, Dr. Todd Abraham, for his report on his program, the instructional program. Thank you.
Thank you, John. As Senior Director of Instruction, I wanted to make sure our programs for the upcoming year are very much aligned with the strategic imperatives that we outlined as part of Dan's report. And so aligned with our intent to make sure the referees are properly prepared to get the best games that they're qualified to do. We have, I'm pleased to announce that we've appointed a Director of Video Instruction, Mark Kahan, who will help us capturing video material and video clips, which will allow us to develop material that is more relevant to the collegiate game and showing the kinds of situations that we need our referees to focus on. The structure, the rules changes that are happening this year for 2018, as you know, this is a rules change year with the NCAA, and the NCAA has pushed back its rule change and rulemaking process to better align with the IFAB process, so as to have more consistent rules aligned with the laws of the game when possible. These changes are currently going through the rules change process and should be finalized within the next week to 10 days, and that will be the training focus for 2018. As a preview, these proposed rules are out on the NCAA website and can be viewed, but the most significant rule change for 2018 is the rule allowing and requiring the referees to keep the time on the field as opposed to having it on the scoreboard clock. And so the issue of timing and how that fits with the current stoppages of play will be one of the major focuses of our training for this year. We will do more online training as well, where we do believe that referees want to learn at their own pace and review issues when they're relevant to the games that they have done or are going to do. So we'll be putting more modules online and make that available to the referee community as we move forward. So with that, I'm happy to turn this now over back to John and move on with the program.
Okay, thank you, Todd. At this time, we'll turn the report over to Tom Richardson, who will address the 2018 National Referee Academy schedule.
Thank you, John. We have established 12 Referee Academy dates, or 12 sites. There'll be multiple overlaps. I think there are 3 weekends we have overlaps. We have 9 weekends to cover 12 particular locations. And I'll not cover every one of these, but these sites are available out on our NISOA website, and you can see the detail and choose which one you prefer to attend. And we are encouraging not only our national referees and their assessors that are required to be there for recertification, but those that have an invitation by their local chapters to sit in and audit those classes. We highly encourage everybody to do that. The registration is now open out on the Arbiter site under the Central Hub. That's what I was trying to think of. Central Hub. And for assessors and referees, there's 2 different registration modules, and so you need to register for those if you haven't done so already. And I think that concludes what we need.
Okay, thank you, Tom. That concludes the reporting section of our agenda, and we'll move into the staff reports. Many of you, well, you may or may not be aware that we have 3 part-time employees within the NISOA organization. Many of the folks that you see up here, the officers, we are volunteers. We were either elected through the population or were appointed by the sitting president at the time. But we do have 3 part-time employees that are compensated and do work for the organization. So with that, they'll each present a bit of a report, and we'll start with our executive director, Julie Swartz.
Hello,
I'm Julie Swartz, and I'm the Executive Director of NISOA. Thank you for tuning in today. We've really tried to embrace this year a whole new way of looking at the organization and really reviewing the challenges, as Dan said, in the strategic plan. We have high hopes that this will address a lot of issues that are needed in the organization. Additionally, we hired on to the team Lance Van Heetsma as the Director of Operations, which was a change from last year. Last year we had Nicole Ward, who was just on a very hourly basis. So we're very glad to welcome Lance to the team. And of course, we have Tom Richardson, who is our expert in finance, and we're thrilled to keep him in working with us. He keeps us on track. I really appreciate all the input and the support from members out there, and wherever I go, meeting them and hearing the issues. We've got a zero balance budget, and we're continuing to begin to operate and really move forward as a nonprofit practicing best practices. Thank you.
And with that, I'll turn it over to Tom Richardson, who will update on our current membership statistics as well as Hall of Fame and awards status.
Thank you, John. The membership report is that we began the year 2018 with 118 chapters. We have all but 4 of those chapters have renewed to date, and there has been a couple of chapters that have ceased to exist or go out of existence, one of those being Nevada, another being New York right now. There's still question about 2 others. A couple of the New England chapters have also kind of consolidated into, there's 17 chapters up there. They're now have been reduced down, I believe it's 15 now. That's under that regional board. Total registered members as of today is 4,300, and of those 4,300, 102 of those are new for 2018. We anticipate that we'll have some more late renewals, and also probably in addition between 300 to 400 new members that will still come in up until the season starts. So our goal is somewhere between 4,700 and 4,800 members by the end of the year. Good.
You want to talk to awards or
awards?
nominations?
Yes, we have some nominations. I'll not share the names just right now, but we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 nominations in for the Hall of Fame. And once those have been put out on the ballot, they will be voted on, and those will be announced later this year. And hopefully that will be done. We'll issue those awards at the reunion date whenever we get that established. So,
Now, I would add,
regional referees, I forgot the regional referees of the year, which will also be recognized, but we have decided, since we're not doing the national convention, that those will be recognized at their local chapter level by the local chapters and hopefully the regional rep of that area to present those awards to them, but that will be done for the 11 regions at the local chapter level.
I'd just like to add that when Tom mentioned voting for the Hall of Fame, the Hall of Fame nominees are actually voted by their peers. So the enshrinees, everybody who's in the Hall of Fame, is actually who votes on who's going in. The executive board and we have several Hall of Famers up here, so I won't say not everybody, but certainly the vast majority of us do not get involved in the selection of the Hall of Fame. That's reserved for the Hall of Fame members themselves. So.
We do vet the candidates with their resumes and things and determine whether or not we feel that they're adequate before they're ever placed out there in nominations. So, and those come from the chapters out there that have members that have been long-term members of this chapter and have done, and there's a list of requirements. When they go through that requirement process and have met those requirements, we vet those, and then we determine who those names will be put up there. And once you've been nominated for the Hall of Fame, you're on the ballot for up to 5 years, or until you're elected, or until you would roll off after a 5-year period if you haven't been elected in that period of time.
Thanks, Tom. Again, one of the important things there is the primary source for Hall of Fame nominations is in fact the chapters. Sometimes several of us or some of the senior leaders or regional reps will assist in that process, but generally speaking, the chapters are the primary source for Hall of Fame nominations. So we highly encourage all of the chapters to take a look at their membership, particularly their legacy membership, and make recommendations to Tom that we'd be more than happy to take action on. The final staff report, I'll turn over to my left. Lance Van Heetsma will give us our report as the new Director of Operations. Welcome, and off you go.
Thanks, John. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Lance Van Heetsma. and I'm honored to serve as your new Director of Operations. To demonstrate as a national organization support for equality and sensitivity to the current state of our society, NISOA will be requiring harassment training. We'll be utilizing a distance learning company called Canopy for this service. The training will be free using the Canopy online portal starting June 1st for roughly all 4,300 NISOA members. In addition of the harassment training, we will also be offering a refresher test and other educational materials through this online portal, as Dr. Abraham noted earlier. Please visit the NISOA website for more information regarding these educational opportunities. Thanks, John.
All right, thank you. And obviously, welcome, Lance. Great to have you.
Yes.
With that, we will present the 2018 budget. Carmen Serbio.
Sure. The budget for 2018 is a little different than what we've done in the past. We are going to have a zero balance budget, as mentioned before. So everything that we're expected to bring in for revenue, we're expecting to spend. We are a nonprofit organization, and we do not want to keep a lot of cash on hand. We also realize that the cash that we do have on hand, we do want to spend it. We want to spend it on training. We want to spend it on programs. We want to spend it on evaluations, everything that we can do to better the member and the chapters. So our 2018 budget is a zero balance budget. We're expecting to bring in just roughly of about $500,000, and our budget reflects that. We're going to spend just over $500,000 to match that.
Okay. Thank you, Carmen. Probably the most satisfying piece of the agenda, and the thing that is of most concern to me is obviously we've just finished a general election process, and we have an opportunity to bring new members to the senior leadership team. I'd like to take a couple of minutes before I announce the results of the general election to kind of explain the process. A lot of feedback that I get is, well, how did you get to be the president, or how did you get to be whatever you happen to be? Who did you know, or what have you? And the process is very simple, and one of the things that we wanted to do, and we've kind of overhauled in the last two election cycles, is that nominations for all of the elected positions, the senior positions on the board, whether it's regional representative or secretary or vice president, we take nominations from the general membership. We generally open nominations on the NISOA website around November. Last year it was right around November 1st of 2017, and we leave the nomination process open for 6 months. So anybody that is interested in becoming a member of the executive board has the opportunity to write a brief position paper, a little bit of their background, what they would plan to do is in whatever role that they choose to be competitive for, and we take that information in, and then we will prepare a ballot that goes to each chapter. Chapter contacts and chapter presidents get a copy of the ballot. The balloting is done all online through the NISOA website. All of the candidates' positions are delineated, so when your chapter leaders actually log on and look at the ballots, they'll see each candidate and the candidate's statement as far as what they would do should they be elected. Hopefully they carry out what they propose to do. So over the course of the last couple of cycles, we've been asking our own senior leaders to do that and try to map a path forward. So one of the things that I did when I first applied was I wanted to make sure that our election process and our leadership process was transparent, as well as our financial positions, that everybody had an opportunity to participate, everybody had an opportunity to review, and everybody had an opportunity to become a member. Member of the executive boards. One of the challenges that we've seen over the last several years with volunteers is our volunteer pool has dried up somewhat. It's been more and more difficult to get people to volunteer their time and for whatever reasons. So we're looking at, it was a little bit dark, to be honest with you, over the last couple of years, is as we were not generating a tremendous list of candidates for senior leadership. And it troubled me quite a bit, because as we move the organization forward, it's important to keep energy up, credibility up. And this past election cycle, everything changed, and it changed so much for the better. We had a slate of candidates that their quality is not only as referees, they all happen to be very accomplished referees, but their life experience and their administrative experience and their vision for the organization was tremendous. It aligned tremendously with what we want to be as an organization. We had 4 extremely well-qualified candidates for secretary. We had 2 wonderfully qualified candidates for vice president. And for the first time in a very, very long time, we had, in fact, as long as I can remember we actually had choices. And the voting represented those choices. There was, all of the races were contested. There were no walkovers. The voting was very, very close, even going down to the last couple of days as we sent out reminders. And through a lot of the hard work of Lance, with getting back with chapter members and making sure that they had access to the ballots, we were able to get 80 of the 87 eligible voting chapters to cast a ballot, which was unheard of. We were used to having about a 60% return. This year we were tremendous return, and the voting representative. So without any further ado, it gives me a wonderful sense of pride to be able to announce the results of the general election for the terms of 2019 and 2020. Gary Huber from Missouri will be president. Mark Lawrence from Michigan will be our vice president. And Ben Trevino from Indiana will be our secretary. It's the first time in my memory, and I'm not exactly an old timer, but I've been around for a little while, that we've had our senior leadership primarily coming from the Midwest United States. So it's I think it's a tremendous step forward for us, not only geographically, but the talents, the youth, the credibility of each one of these individuals is truly impressive, and I know the organization will be in fantastic hands going forward, and it's been very comforting, and I very much look forward to the future of NISOA, because I know it is in extremely good hands. So there you have it. Those are your new officers moving forward. So congratulations to them. I hope and I trust they will find that their experience leading the organization will be as personally satisfying as mine has been over the last 6 years being on the executive board. We will close the meeting with one final section for the good of the game. The NCAA has announced three national clinics, and Todd, just speaking to that as in support of these clinics.
Yeah, so the NCAA runs national soccer clinics under the auspices of the Director of Officials, Ryan Sigich, and those 3 clinics will be in Indianapolis on the 14th of July, in Oakland, California on the 21st of July, and in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania on the 4th of August.
Okay. Thank you. And before we close the meeting, we get the fun part. We've been taking questions from members through the various magic of the internet portal, and I guess Julie, you've been moderating and compiling the questions, and we'll do our best to respond to them, so fire away.
Okay, if anyone has any questions, feel free to type them into the chat or into the Facebook lines, and I'll read them. Let's start with this one. Aaron Childers asks, new uniforms today? With this discussion about moving into a new age of development, instruction, strategic planning, would be great to have uniforms that represent the organization in a modern age.
Todd, you want to talk to that point?
Sure. And obviously there's been a bit of a rumor among the community that we are developing a new uniform kit for the future, which is true. George Nugame has been working with Official Sports to develop a new uniform which is which reflects the historical design of the NISOA uniform, but also the more modern designs of the uniforms that you see being adopted by U.S. Soccer and other organizations. We are in the process of finalizing that design and are expecting to roll out that uniform, I would say, within the next month. We want to make sure that Official Sports has the capability to produce the uniforms so that our members can receive them in a timely fashion. And that uniform will be available for the upcoming season. It's important for people to understand that we are not changing over uniforms. We're introducing the new uniform as another alternative along with the existing NISOA kit, so the referees can choose that should they so desire to augment their current set of uniforms. And clearly we expect the uniforms that the crew wears in any particular game to be the same for everybody on the crew, and also believe that the new uniform kits that we're bringing forward will reflect the material and the style that people are looking for in the future. We're also currently finalizing an arrangement with Official Sports so that during the introductory period of these uniforms, with a stipend from NISOA, we'll be able to offer these at a very significantly reduced price to our NISOA members. NISOA will pick up part of the cost of this uniform for its members during the first 4 to 6 weeks of production. That will get finalized here shortly, and will allow our members to buy kit at a very, very reasonable introductory price so that we can make this introduction of the new kit available at a very, very attractive price point.
Hopefully that answered the question and probably may lead to several more, but we'll deal with that when it comes. Julie?
Any questions locally here in the audience? I want to give you, since you're not typing in. Let me give it
At least
one
some
more.
smiles. I think that's okay. We're good with that.
Okay, Aaron Childers says, awesome news. Thank you for taking the question, for all of your hard work that you do as leaders of NISOA. And I personally would like to thank the 3 outgoing board members at the end of this year, John Puglisi, George Westcott, and Bob Fisher.
Well, you're not getting rid of me quite yet. I still have 2 years as past president. So, but thank you, and thank you for being a member.
Any other questions? Anyone else? Now's the time. Speak up now or hold your peace.
Or speak up at any time you want. I mean, again, we do want to make sure people recognize that we are receptive to questions, comments, suggestions throughout the year, not just at the annual general meeting.
That's true.
And we can use any of the forum available to get those questions to us, either directly to email or any of the NISOA.com website links, or call John or now Gary Huber as incoming president directly, and be happy to deal with any of the questions, concerns, comments, suggestions, or areas of improvement that our members feel we can help with.
If I could just piggyback on that. The rumor was one color that was going to be introduced. Is it with the kit? Is it just going to be a one color, or are we looking all?
We're introducing 3 colors, short and long sleeve. And for those members that are interested in purchasing the entire set of the 6 uniforms, we will have a very good opportunity and option for them through this program with Official Sports, where NISOA will pick up part of that cost for that uniform.
For our registered members.
For our registered
In
members
good
in good standing.
Okay. And one more question with Tom on new membership that we are just introducing in the last several months that have put in the request for the older uniforms.
Right.
We heard that they were holding off on.
They had been, but I think they're filling those with the current colors.
Tom, can you repeat the question so everyone can hear it?
Yeah, the question is from the audience about the uniforms and the new member kits for 2018. We had held up on those initially. We weren't sure exactly when these were going to transpire or take place as far as getting the availability of uniforms, but they've agreed to fill from their current inventory with the current styles that we have now, with the idea that the new ones will be introduced, and they'll be introduced at a reduced price, so if they want to purchase them, they can. The old ones are not going away right now, so they can use those uniforms for at least a couple more years, I'm sure. But we're going to make available the new styles, and we'll see how the demand is as far as that's concerned. But right now, they're being filled, my understanding, with the current uniform colors that we have right now. And the others are in addition to. Okay? Thanks for the question.
Julie, as with Region 1 and Jim Triplett, Region 2 has traditionally and today had me represent the New York State ISOA, which is all of the boards except for Metro. So if you'd make a note of that.
Okay. So we have a representative for all of the New York boards except for Metro, which I believe John Puglisi is covering. Any other questions?
I've got one. Steve Royce from Indiana. Most of the other organizations, soccer organizations, have transitioned over to online credit cards renewal, and we still go through the chapters. And for the chapters, it's a stressful month for me and a couple other people. I don't know how it works for the other folks, but lots of people get lots of phone calls, and it's a rush during the Christmas holiday season for me. And I'm curious to know if we've talked about, you guys have talked about switching over to a more of a credit card renewal where the referees were just going directly and renew versus going through the chapters.
The question online is that, and from the local audience here is, are we considering switching into a credit card renewal system that just goes directly into the national? I don't think that's been discussed, but it's certainly an area that the finance group can look at.
Well, I'll take that one, because the registration process itself is a little bit onerous on the chapter contacts, and as you know, I've gotten some feedback from several of them that they would prefer an individual registration approach, particularly when it comes to handling finances, the financial aspect of it. It's not an insurmountable problem. Some of the initial tripping points that we had were, you know, how would we, if an individual is paying both their national and their chapter dues at one time, you know, we would have to be have a transaction back to the chapter from NISOA. How we would go about doing that, the financial structure, we really don't have a storefront per se. We do have a relationship with Arbiter Sports, which has a registration model. But there were two stumbling blocks that if we could get some feedback or some suggestions from chapter leadership, we'd be happy to take on. Is one, how to handle local chapter dues, because obviously we don't want to compute everybody and then have to give the chapters back some money. It's just double accounting on us, and I'm sorry about that. But and the second piece of it is we use the chapters as the gatekeeper for members in good standing to allow, you know, everybody that would register, that by registering through the chapter represents that the individual is in good standing and has met the requirements of the chapter and NISOA policy. I think that's lesser of a problem for us on a macro stage. You can flag members as they come in and allow them to register if they are in bad standing or have some other issues with the chapters. I think we can work something. But we would have to probably leverage our original framework with Arbiter Sports to do that. And again, if there's an appetite for it from the chapters, should certainly try to take that one on, because it is a painful time for 120 chapter contacts for collecting money, and quite frankly, it's a painful time for Tom too. With individual checks coming in and trips to the bank, it is a bit archaic. We'll get there. And we'll look at, if the appetite is there from the chapters. We have a lot of chapters that like to keep a very hard control over the registration process, and they're loath to give that back to the referees. So, it's like 120 different kids. They all have a different approach towards things. But it's a good point and something I'd like to work on.
Is it possible through Arbiter Sports registration that it's a single entry point for everyone to go to, but we'll divide up and send the information, the money back to the chapter? We still can keep our part of the fee, send it into national, but as they register, they're going to register for their local chapter. The money's going to go to us, but it puts everyone to that central registration point. It takes enough time to follow up.
The question is can Arbiter divide up the fees and send some somewhere and some of the other? And so, Tom, you're the expert.
Well, I'll take that one on, because I work with our, the other thing that I do is I run the NISOA website and all of the registration process software that happens, that you see as a chapter contact, that's all code that was developed in-house here. I'd have to take that back. I do believe that's, because I had asked the folks, I'd asked the Evans boys about how we would map this process. Is somebody else doing this? And there were issues that were associated with arbiter pay account, or the old ref pay accounts. I'm not sure what they're called nowadays. That individuals would have to establish. It was prickly, but I think there's a path. But it would require a lot more interface for individuals who may or may not get their assignments through Arbiter. I see the Arbiter stats. Not everybody logs in ever onto their Arbiter account, and some people don't do it at all. So there's a little bit of human behavior there that would have to change, and we certainly don't want to disenfranchise anybody. But I think there is a path forward to answer your question about how to do this disbursement without us all having to go back to business school and figuring it out. Sure.
Also along the registration lines and renewal lines, the other area where I've had difficulty is we've been trying to get younger referees in, and frequently they're still in college, or they're still in one area, and they are planning to move somewhere. They don't always know where. And I've been not very successful at convincing them, go ahead and sign up through your chapter, look where you are this year, even though you're going to be in a different chapter by next year. If you wait until next year, there's some difficulties with getting all that paperwork done in time. If we could have something in place for members that relocate, and for whatever reason they haven't signed up in the fall, and so now they're not in good standing, if we could help them out.
The question is
We need
can
2 or
we
3 chapters
create a
before.
system to allow referees, especially young referees who move around quite a bit in their younger years, to help facilitate their registration process?
That one I'll let you have, Tom. That's over my pay grade.
We currently have, here's one of the issues. We have a transfer process that's online. John took care of that.
That's helped.
It has helped, and here's one of the things I think has been a little stickler with it. We sometimes say they're not in good standing simply because they haven't paid dues for the current year. That was really designed because it has a second question on there. If they haven't paid their dues, but they are still in good standing, they can pay their dues to the new chapter so they can pay their chapter dues at the same time. I don't object to that. In fact, I encourage that. So I would say they have not paid their dues, but they are a member in good standing. When they left our chapter, they were a good member. The reason that question was put in there was to say if you have somebody that's on probation or somebody that shouldn't be a referee in NISOA, then we want you to tell us before we let the transfer happen. So the chapter doesn't get somebody they shouldn't have. That's the reason for that. So I think if you understand that, and I've tried to explain that to somebody, but maybe we just didn't get the message out to all the chapters, but if you'll go ahead and say, no, they haven't paid their dues, then that tells the new chapter they got to pay dues, but at the same time, they were a member in good standing when they left the previous chapter.
So people transferring in,
Same way.
just get a hold of you?
Sure.
Because they said, no, he's not in good standing, but strictly because they didn't.
And I can tell you if they haven't paid, if they haven't paid their dues, yeah. And we encourage, if there is an issue with the local chapter where they are transferring because they've been put on probation there or whatever the session, you don't want to have that same problem. So, and that's, pick up the phone and call, or send me an email or whatever. I'll be happy to address that.
But I think to that point, there's, we could certainly create a pool, a holding pool, where somebody would say, look, I'm finishing my studies. I don't know where I'm going to go. They could at least become known or fill out a form so that we would hold them in a pool.
That'd be great.
Mm-hmm. And then when
Most of them are thinking, I'm not going to know where I'm at until
Right.
May or June, by then the games are assigned, so I'm going to miss this year no matter what.
Yeah, I think we can do something with that. That sounds like some fun, because I know from my experience with transfers, a lot of times people I'm moving to Indiana. Now there's 3 chapters in Indiana, and we have a locator, and but it's not an easy. It can be a little bit daunting. I know when I moved from Florida to New York, I had like 3 chapters I could have joined, and I hope I picked the right one, but it was, you know, a lot of times that's just serendipity. But I think we can do something with that. If there's an appetite for it, we can certainly take it on.
Good question.
Other questions?
Considering membership, local chapters, not a tremendous problem, but new membership coming in and then getting them on assigners lists. Kind of stumble a little bit. We try to send emails to the assigners in our area and things of that nature. Some are open, some are not, and then a year, 2 years go by, and the new member doesn't seem to be getting any games. We're trying to figure
The
out
question
what we can do.
locally here is, when a new member comes to your chapter,
Further that along and getting
helping
on
them
lists
connect
so
to
that
the
we'll sign
assigner
up
locally is a
NISOA
challenge, and if they can't seem to get any games, we tend to lose them. So how do we help facilitate that?
Well, there's, and this was going over to Lukash, because that was actually one of our goals in aligned with our strategic imperatives. There's a goal in there that talks to that. I'm going to make him dig it out because he's close to the issue. But talk to our internal goal about developing objectives to help with member visibility.
Yes, I think that actually applies in two of our imperatives. The first one was about best opportunity to get the best game. So first, we want to make sure that when chapters do get new members, they have the resources in order to highlight that particular person, that they've educated them in the game, give them the training for that. And then also that goes back into our fourth imperative, universally recognized merit-based advancement system. So we have two different objectives that. One is the overall advancement system, so there is an understanding of what you need to do more. Each chapter, each assigner, a lot of people say, well, you need to do this to get games, or you need to do that, you need to do this. And there are a variety of nuances and different preferences that assigners have, that chapters want out of members, so there's a lot of poor referees being tied in multiple ways of how do I ref this game to get seen. And also within our strategic imperative one, we talked about improving our assessor. We're calling coaches, mentors, whatever the current phrasing now is, ways to better assess those members to make sure that people who assign games will also consider the assessments, the write-ups, the evaluations, will also consider those valid and appropriate and be more encouraged to use those new members. So those are multiple areas where we're striving to help make a NISOA member stand out and be seen and hopefully get games.
And another point to Dan's comments, we're trying to form the partnerships with different organizations. And that's going to be part of NISOA helping with the partnership to allow these younger, rewarding, deserving referees get these opportunities, because we don't want referees to get lost in the shuffle, become disinterested, and then we lose them. It's not good for NISOA, and it's not good for the game. So we are going to be working on these partnerships to strengthen them so that these referees have these opportunities when they're deserving.
And just a follow-up question on that then as well. Finding they come in, join NISOA as a national chapter, and then part of our local chapter here. We're finding some other local chapters that have the assigning capabilities are also requiring those same individuals, or all individuals, that if they were going to assign them games, they need to become an associate member of that chapter as well. So they're kind of, in essence, double dipping. Is that, bringing the new referee in, he's not only paying a national fee, but now he's actually being required by another association in another area to be an associate.
The concern is that if a new member is in one chapter, there may be assignments he can get in another chapter, and that other chapter is requiring him to pay some associate member dues.
Well, I'll speak to that. I mean, that's contrary to the framework of our Constitution, our bylaws on a national level. Okay, there is now there is a provision to be an affiliate member of a chapter. You can do that, but within the structure of it, you belong to one chapter, you pay dues to one chapter, and then if you're an affiliate member, you shouldn't be paying dues a second time. That's contrary. So again, one of our one of our strategic imperatives, and we're always going to try to tie these things back to the strategic plan, is the chapter model, and making sure that our leadership and the chapter model supports our vision, and that's contrary. So we have to take steps to make sure, as we're evaluating chapters from a chapter maturity model, making sure that what they're doing is in fact what we want to be doing on a national level. What I will tell you that I'm seeing is we're seeing a tremendous amount of actual transfers. We're not seeing this affiliate function so much, but members are just transferring to chapters that have a robust assigning function. I think that's obvious. I think that's the preferable way to go with it. But certainly for chapters that are asking for fees from members in good standing from other chapters to get match assignments, that's contrary to our Constitution and bylaws. That should not be happening.
There's a question for Todd that came over. Charles Farr wants Todd to answer. Retaining members when assigners do not wish to use NISOA officials, they use whomever they wish, and most officials get no game. It's very difficult to keep members when they are not used. So, Todd, would you like to respond?
As John said in the opening comments, the environment and the context of the collegiate game is changing. And one of the major areas of focus for this strategic plan that we just put together was trying to deal with these kinds of situations that our referees are facing. And so as you look through the strategic imperatives that Dan talked about, we want to make sure that as a training organization, a member-centric training organization, we provide referees the tools, the skills, and the capabilities to be able to get the best games that they're qualified for. As part of that strategic planning discussion and process, we recognize that we need some kind of an objective, universally recognized system so that we have something for the assigners, whether they are NISOA assigners or non-NISOA assigners, to use to understand the capabilities of those officials. So it is a major area of focus for us as an organization moving into the future to try to help our referees develop the portfolio of games and the portfolio of experiences that will make them attractive to those assigners. Becoming a NISOA member never guaranteed anyone games. What guaranteed people games was their ability to do the games at this collegiate level. And what we're trying to do is provide people those skills, capabilities, and tools to be able to do the collegiate game effectively. When a referee does the collegiate game effectively, demonstrates professionalism on and off the field, and maintains highly productive relationships with the constituencies, be they the assigners or be they the schools at which they're working, those referees will be recognized because it is the goal of the assigners to put the best referees on the field that they possibly can. Our goal is to give you the tools to be the best referee to be put on the field. I hope that answered the question on the chat. If not, I'm happy to take a follow-up from the chat as well, Julie, if it comes back.
Okay.
I had a question regarding the using of mentors and local coaches. We've discussed locally to try to implement that ourselves in being able to give our newer members feedback and also give the assigners feedback, as you mentioned. With part of the strategic plan, is there an idea or has there been any talk about coming up with a training for people who aren't going to be necessarily a regional or national assessor, who can be kind of a localized coach, but that there's consistent instruction coming from the national level down to the local chapters so those people are prepared?
There's a local question here, wanting to know about the mentoring, coaching, assessing program, about how it filters down on the local level, and how, who wants to take one?
Yeah, I'll take that one because this is part of the online training that we're trying to make available. I've worked with Rod Kenny, who's the director of assessment, so who will be looking after these mentors and coaches. And his intent is to put up a training module on this platform that Lance referred to. And so we will have a vehicle for people to get local assessment training so they can become mentors and coaches without having to go through some kind of a national program where they would have to travel someplace and incur additional expense. So that is our intention through this platform, to to make that available. And it's a bit of an experiment, but we feel that we can communicate. Rod and I feel we can communicate the information that needs to be communicated to help people learn to be coaches and mentors through that kind of a platform.
There's another question from Scott Hopkins. 2 issues. Are NISOA assigners required to use NISOA officials? Are schools required to use NISOA assigners?
Well, I'll take that one, and I'll parse it into 2, and I think there's actually a couple of binary answers here. Are NISOA assigners required to use NISOA officials? Short answer to that question is no. However, that being said, part of the assigner's code of ethics, as we've constituted it, is that they will. So if you are an NISOA assigner, the expectations are that you will use NISOA members. Now, generally speaking, and I may be speaking from a personal perspective, but I think that's okay because I think it represents the bulk of the feeling of the board. It's a bit of a contentious issue, is assigners are being employed by somebody, whether it's a conference, a school. If they're a chapter assigner and they're responsible to the chapter, well, that's their constituency, and they best be serving their chapters. But I'm very loath to require anybody who's making a living or having a job to meet a customer requirement, tell them what to do. Now, it goes back again to some of this, to the strategic planning, to the point where we believe that NISOA officials are in the best, and we want to make sure that they're in the best position possible, and they do demonstrate a certain level of training and certification that they should be very attractive to assigners, and we need to put them in a position to do so. So there is something in the Code of Ethics that does cover NISOA assigners, and I would hope that from an ethical standpoint, which again is not necessarily as enforceable as a code of law, but something that we would expect from our NISOA assigners. And I think the second question from Scott, and Scott, if I didn't answer that one, I'll be happy to take a follow-up. Are schools required to use NISOA assigners? Again, schools are engaging individuals within the terms of their own institution's parameters for hiring or engaging in third-party contractors. So no is the short answer to that one, but we do believe that informed schools and conferences will choose NISOA assigners. We hope that's to the case. But again, this is a business decision that the schools and the conferences are making. And again, we're a training certifying and a recruiting organization. We're not in the business of helping people make money or get into the assigning business. And I really don't want to tell them how to do their business. It's really not fair for me. It's their livelihood.
Okay, I got a couple more questions here online. Carrie Williams said, love the changes that soccer referees could start keeping official time. And apparently there are 9 comments in each share, so that is a hot topic. Eric Samples has asked, has any progress been made on extra assigning fees?
Extra assigning fees, I'm going to take that as referees paying for match assignments. Again, you want to talk about a hot button topic, that's number one, because we are very concerned with the cost of being an official and trying to minimize that to the maximum extent practical. I won't say we're going to eliminate it, because again, I don't think that's possible, but that is something requiring referees to pay an assigning fee is certainly within the terms of their decision-making. We don't encourage it. I don't like to see it. I personally have not worked for assigners that require me to pay a fee for anything other than access to match agreements. But again, that's me. Now, what I will say is for assigners that are providing education, they are developing, they're working and training. I think it's reasonable for a customary fee to be charged for clinics. I think that's in context with common practice. But as far as paying for match access, I find it distasteful, personally. And that's the best I can do is tell you how I feel about it, but I can't I hopefully can dissuade signers from doing it. I can hopefully encourage signers that their employment agreements with their conferences cover all of their expenses and meet their requirements without them having to go into the pockets of our members. I find that to be distasteful. I don't know if I grabbed the questions out of order, but how did I do on that one, Eric? You're on the line.
Thank you for your excellent answers.
I don't know about excellent, but it's an answer.
Not right now, let's see.
What else? Anything else? This is a lot more fun than just reading reports.
Here, Ben has a question.
Production team has said that they do have the dates for the national camps, if you want to throw them on.
Okay.
Actually, if we could get the slide up for the production for the national referee.
Sure.
There we go.
There we
There you
are.
go.
Those are the National Referee Academy dates and the chapter sponsoring them.
Yep. Cal South, Greensboro, North Carolina, San Antonio, Texas, Boston, Massachusetts, Orlando, Florida, Kansas City, which I believe is going to be in Olathe.
Yes, that's
in
correct.
Kansas, actually. I'm not from that region. I
That's
don't know
correct.
whether there's
That's correct.
Is there an issue?
No.
I guess not. Okay, good. Cal North, Oklahoma City, Philadelphia, Birmingham, and Portland. A couple of new sites.
I will say along with that the fact sheets, information sheets will be up online, attached to the central hub, just as soon as we get those returned from the local people that are hosting those academies. So they'll be able to see the details necessary for all of those academies.
There is a Chicago one missing out of there.
Yes, there is.
There is a Chicago one.
There is a
missing out of
Chicago
there.
one.
There is a Chicago one.
It's
Do you- Tom, do you know the dates offhand?
I want to say July, but I can't,
July, I think it's 14.
I think it's July 14th, I believe. We have July the 7th? No,
July
yes,
7th.
yeah, 7th. It's on
July
Chicago's
7th.
July 7th.
Okay, so that should be added at July
Yeah.
7th. Same as
July
OKC,
7th.
Oklahoma.
No, Oklahoma's.
Oklahoma's the 14th, and Philadelphia's the 14th.
Right.
I didn't think we'd missed it. They just didn't have it on that slide.
Yep.
Okay.
Anything else?
Any other questions out there in soccer world?
I would like to thank
Yeah.
our friends here from Indiana for showing up and adding a little bit of energy and perspective and some wonderful questions. It allows us to kind of show you or demonstrate, and as well as the folks online that did come in, friends from all over the country, how when the questions are posed, we will always draw back onto the framework of the strategic plan and the goals and the objectives, so that we can make sure that these issues that are front and center with our members are being addressed at the national level. And I think we now have a framework to do it. And I'm very pleased that the questions that came up did relate to some of the goals and the objectives that we've developed over the last 5 months. So it makes me feel like we're going in the right direction. So thank you to the people that are here in the room with us in Indianapolis. Thank you for everybody that is online. With that, I would like to take a motion to adjourn this meeting.
So moved?
A second, please.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
This meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.
Thank you all for coming.